lockdown, and working from home 1 year later. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by MacVoices After Dark. Uncensored, off-topic, and always off the wall. MacVoices After Dark is available as a benefit to our Patreon subscribers. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is MacVoices Live. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. We would love to have you join us because we do this at those times every Tuesday night and have a great time doing it. And we know that you would have a great time being part of it in the chat rooms on either platform. Tonight, we're going to talk about a couple different topics. At least that's we've seeded it, but somehow we never seem to get to all the topics that we plan to. It's just the way it goes. Sometimes, yeah, that's true, or any of them. So let's go around the room, find out who's here tonight, and then we'll go from there. So first up, my screen has been jumping around a little bit, so it's really off tonight. Mr. Jim Rea is here first. Jim, good to have you as always.
Wow, I got here. I'm on first. Amazing.
You're on first. Who's on second? Yeah.
I don't know.
I forgot. What am I supposed to do? I'm Jim.
Yeah. Say hello, Jim. Good job.
I'm Guy Serle.
No. That's not.
No, I'm Guy Serle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
I thought Mark said I was Guy.
Yeah.
No,
everybody.
I'm Guy.
See, this, folks, is why you need to show up to the pre-show so you know what's going on and why. Also with us tonight, Mr. Jay Miller. Jay, welcome back. Good to have you.
It's good to be here. I'm glad I can actually stay for the whole time this time.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
That's great. Jeff Gamet is in from Colorado, and we're not making any jokes tonight because it's been kind of a serious place out there, Jeff. I'm glad you're safe.
Oh, thanks. And yesterday was very crazy, and I'm glad I'm okay, and I'm glad that everyone that I know in Boulder is okay.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad for the people that aren't.
Yeah, our sympathies go out to those. Some of this stuff just doesn't make any sense. When you get a group like this together, and we have a lot of laughs and all the differences we have here on this group, and then you look at something like that, it's hard to understand.
Well, it's weird. Nothing on this show makes sense, but no one gets hurt.
Yeah, that's true too. Speaking of which, Mr. Frank Petrie is here.
Actually, I'm changing my name to David Ginsburg, and I'm going to be the president of the suburban Chicago Apple users. Okay,
this is going to get really confusing. I got to make some notes here as to who is assuming whose identity.
I'm Frank Petrie. Well, it's Witness Protection Program.
That explains it.
Or Witless. I'm not sure which.
Mark Fuccio is also with us, and this time he is promoting National Puppy Day. Mark, you want to explain that?
Sure. Today is National Puppy Day.
But it says date.
I don't know. It says date. Oh, it's another autocorrect.
Do I have to take a dog out?
I must typed it wrong, and it thought it was date instead of day. But anyway,
Siri.
It's National Puppy Day. And for those in the audience who own puppies, good on you. You know, it's a delightful pleasure and a bit of confidence on the future. And for those who own mature dogs, you probably are like me. You think, where's that cute little puppy gone? It must have been an alien invasion that took the puppy away and replaced it with a bigger version of its future self. So, Chuck, I hope that bends your mind, and back to you.
Thank you. My mind has been bent, Mark, but thank you for trying to do just a little more. Last but absolutely not least, at least at the moment, she's the last one introduced, is Ms. Brittany Smith. Brittany, welcome. Nice virtual background.
Thank you. I'm really proud of it. I put it together myself. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah,
how many days did it take you?
I've been setting it up slowly over the course of today.
She made her background in 6 days, and she rested on the 7th, I guess.
I've been known to do that from time to time.
So, guys, the first topic tonight, and I have to tell you, it's sort of personally inspired, but I think a lot of people can relate to it. That somewhere in the last week, give or take, we had the 1 year anniversary of the lockdown in the U.S. I know last Friday, as we record this, was the day that was the 1 year anniversary. Thursday, was the 1 year anniversary from when we closed our office, and we still have not reopened. And that seems to be, in general, the kind of the same for everyone. And I've heard a lot of people talking about it, the goods and the bads, and the whole work from home thing. And I wanted to just throw out to this group and open a discussion about the working from home. What have we learned about working from home? And that can include good or bad, because I know I have some strong feelings about some of it. And I'm curious to see, at least for the people that are here right now, how did this affect you? Because a lot of you all work from home anyway, so it probably didn't affect you significantly. Or maybe it did. I don't know. You guys tell me. Brittany, how about I'll start with you, because I know things I think shifted for you, maybe not as much as for me, but definitely for you.
Oh, they did. I mean, I was basically living in two cities, half for half of the week in one city and the other half in another. And I hope to go back to that at some point. But at the moment, I'm not meeting with any clients in person. So there's not a lot of reason to do that weekly commute. It's also impacted me in that, although there are some folks with ADHD who really enjoy working from home and make it work for them, people who that isn't a good fit suddenly found themselves doing that or doing school from home. And that lack of structure was a huge struggle. So the ADHD support part of my life sort of skyrocketed because once people were sort of settling in, not right at first, but once they're like, oh, this is like going to be a while. Like all of a sudden, a lot more folks were getting diagnosed or reaching out for support. And personally, I live on Zoom now.
Okay, we will talk.
That's where
about
I live.
that.
It's on Zoom.
We will definitely talk about that. I thought I saw Jay do a little dance or something up there as you were talking. Did I miss something, Jay?
No, that's me 100%. Brittany talked about like going into work from home, having ADHD and being diagnosed with ADHD. And it was interesting that working from home was something that I had asked about for years because I saw all the benefits and none of the drawbacks because I'd never done it. And I actually went from a position of having to go into an office every day to being forced to work from home due to medical issues. And then from there, actually getting a new job, starting a new career, and then working full time in a role that will permanently be work from home and has always been work from home. So it was interesting that I almost had a dry run up to getting into a position that would be this way in the future. And I would kind of just work off of where I was.
Okay, so at this point, we'll interrupt the discussion to welcome David Ginsburg. He apparently gave the squirrel a piece of cheese. The wheel is back running, and he's got power.
I did. Yeah, the power came back. I'm here. Thanks for having me. Glad to be good. Glad I was able to make it.
Yeah, glad to have you. Glad to have you. Since you just got here, talk a little bit about how your life changed when we locked down from a work standpoint. You ended up working from home like I did.
Yeah, it changed quite a bit. Once that first day kicked in, I was like, wow, this, being an IT professional as I am, I'm so used to working at the office every day. It was quite a transition. And then working with my company and trying to get everybody up online was, quite the challenge the first few days because you don't expect to have the capacity for VPN as that we had compared, to the days before. You went from 10 or 20% to 80 or 90% capacity. So a lot of companies had to make an adjustment, but it's been interesting. It's definitely been interesting. I've been able to manage it, been able to take care of people's computers when they need it. And luckily I had access to my office, so I was able to get in when I had to. But this was definitely something that I was not used to, working from home.
How about any of the rest of you? I was looking at who's here right now. I have the impression that probably you all were working primarily from home anyway, so it really didn't change anything for you. Is that accurate, Jeff, Jim, Frank, Mark?
Not completely accurate for me.
Okay, Jeff.
So I've been exclusively work at home for like 20 years. And so you would assume that when the lockdown hit, that everything stayed as it was. But I'm sure this comes as a total surprise. I'm a very social person. And so what I had to do a couple times a week was pack up my laptop and go someplace where there's other people, and not like a shared workspace, but like a coffee shop or something,
Right.
where there was just this other activity stuff happening around me, and I just needed that to be able to stay charged up, and like my Friday afternoon routine was, it's getting closer to the end of the workday, and I would take my laptop and walk a couple blocks to my favorite little pub, sit at the bar, have a beer while I finished up the end of the week stuff that I needed to do. And there were a lot of other people that did the same thing. So, you'd see the same people every week and catch up, and it was great. So losing that was actually a bigger deal than I expected. And what I started doing was relying on just little random Zoom meetings, and then also utilities like Coffitivity, which is a little app that makes it sound like you're in a coffee shop.
Ah,
And so I would just play that at
so
my
like white
desk.
noise.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like a white noise thing, but it's coffee shop sounds, and that was surprisingly helpful.
It's weird that you mentioned that. There was where I used to live, Bethlehem Steel. I don't know if you guys remember them. I know Chuck does. Bethlehem Steel had built a place called Martin Tower that they just imploded last year. And they had built it, and they were so proud that the engineers had built it that it was deadly silent. And they found after a month of people working in there, they weren't getting anything done because there was no noise. So they actually made a loop tape of people stapling, dropping pencils, closing doors, and stuff like that. And they just put it on loop and played it. Otherwise, they couldn't get anything done.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I saw a study a few years ago that the sounds, just that kind of background noise, is really helpful for being able to get your focus and to be able to be productive. And I'm betting Brittany knows a lot more about that than I do.
Interestingly, different cognitive profiles, like different ways different brains are wired, respond differently to different types of like white noise or brown noise or green noise, like depending on the frequencies or the other types of noise you can have. And yeah, they've done some really, really interesting studies looking at that. And then there were some groups that they were disruptive, like it was just too distracting, and that it really did depend on some particular individual variables. But yeah, you could do a cognitive test and divide the test, and the people on one end of the test were more likely to do better with the noise added, or worse with the noise added.
Interesting.
Jeff, yeah, I'm so glad you said something, because I would not. I know that about you, and I kind of forgot about it, that you're a coffee shop guy, and I don't think of that. I don't think of that as going to the office, because it's not. But that was sort of your office, and that got taken away from you.
It did, and it was weird. And now, granted, most of what I was doing sitting right here, anyhow. But those. To me, they're anonymous social breaks, because I'm not committed to interact with other people, but I've just got that sound and activity going on around me. It was a big thing to lose. The irony for me, I spent so much time going to coffee shops to do work. I don't like coffee.
So what you have?
That's right.
Tea.
He's a tea guy.
Tea? Yeah, tea drinker. Yeah. This edition of MacVoices is supported by our Patreon subscribers and MacVoices After Dark. Ever wonder what happens before the MacVoices live shows? Or what happens when the show ends or after the live feed closes? That's where MacVoices After Dark comes in. If you are a Patreon supporter at any level, you get access to the video of our off-camera conversations. Uncensored, unedited, and always off the wall. It's a small thank you to our Patreon supporters who want to peek behind the curtain. Become a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/MacVoices. And thanks to everyone who supports the show. Jim, how about you? You run ProView development, and so you're kind of a solo act anyway. Did this have any significant make any significant changes for you?
Yeah, I haven't gone into an office for 20 years like Jeff. ProView used to have an office, and we had a 6-line phone system and whatnot, but now everything's on the internet and what's not. Oh, the app was Coffitivity, because I have that too. It's pretty cool. And you were mentioning that, and something I've done along those lines. I've used Coffitivity a little bit, but what I've done since the pandemic started, I work on a laptop, and then I've got an external monitor. So mostly I'm working on the external monitor, and the laptop's just sitting to the side, and sometimes I use it, but not that much. So what I've been doing is bringing up YouTube, and there's a site called Virtual Railfan, and I like trains. And I bring that up, and they've got webcams pointing at train tracks all over the place. And so I'll just set one up and just have it sitting there. And so maybe I'm looking at Galesburg, Illinois, or the Missouri River, or Flagstaff, and it's kind of like having a window. So I'm stuck. I can't go anywhere, but I can look out and there's a nice sunset in Illinois today. Or, in fact, I remember when that derecho happened. Remember that? Everybody's forgotten that in Iowa a few months ago, and I actually saw that on the webcam, and I was like, "What? That's a really weird looking cloud." And then the next day, it was on the news that it was a big thing. So that's sort of a way that I've brought a window, since I'm stuck here. Now, I never really worked much in coffee shops, but one thing that I have done for a few years was we had a local meetup every Tuesday night of Apple programmers, and this guy had an office that he let us use, and he was one of the members, and so we'd go there and just hang around for a few hours, and sometimes we'd talk, and sometimes we'd just work. So it was sort of like a coffee shop. So obviously have missed out on that. In fact, I wonder if that's permanently gone. But I've definitely picked up. I like having this Zoom once a week. It's nice to have a connection, and there's a couple other Zooms that aren't broadcast, but that so because like Jeff, well, I don't want to sit here by myself all the time. So in some ways, in fact, that's actually been better, because now there's people from all over the place that are sitting around on Zoom, and it's not just people that happen to be in Orange County. So that's kind of cool. But, in general, I've been, working from home, like you said, for 20 years. So it hasn't really changed my workflow much as far as that goes.
Okay. We'll interrupt again because Guy Serle has joined us. The Guy Serle, the real Guy Serle.
I saw Brittany. Brittany had stolen my name. Damn the Brittany.
Yeah.
Well, somebody was saying that we weren't seeing Guy Serle and Brittany at the same time. So.
Huh.
Yeah. So what you're seeing now may be a trick. I'm not sure.
I'm CGI.
It's an illusion with mirrors and slices of white bread.
Okay. We'll get to Guy in a second.
Very
Mark,
obscure reference.
Wanted to find out from you, has it made any significant difference for you?
Well, I would preface this by saying that I've been in and out of working from home or in corporate offices or some sort of hybrid for probably about the past 25 years. So what I've observed this time around is in the past year, all of a sudden, there was a much higher number of people who were working at home. And at first, a lot of people just had trouble, their whole organizational system, for how they work, who they are, their social systems all just got stripped away. And it seems that, some people were able to figure that out. What I've observed is, say, working from home this time, why and how it's different from in the past is, in the past, people would either you conference on a phone, or maybe you'd use Skype or a service like that, and everything seems to be pretty much business focused. What I've observed now is since maybe June, July, sort of in the summertime, after people have gotten over the shock of having to be able to work from home and getting over the shock of using a tool like Zoom or others, is it seems that what used to be a very strong focus on whatever the work project or work meeting was at hand, now it seems like it's much more just naturally a working environment. You have all these side conversations and coffee cooler, coffee bar conversations, and everything else. So that what used to be like a 30-minute in Zoom is now an hour in Zoom, and half of the time it disappears by coffee chats and other office chit-chat type of discussions. So that's probably the most significant thing that I have noticed.
Ooh, that's interesting, and I definitely want to come back to that. But I want to give Guy a chance to get in on this too. Guy, how did this? I mean, we've joked with you a number of times about Guy's Daily Drive, that's what you do that on the way to and from work.
Yeah.
But were you doing to and from work kind of things during the pandemic, or were you pretty much stuck at home?
For the first month, they pretty much told everybody to stay home. But there were certain things that I could only do from the office. So for myself and at least one other person, they kind of relaxed that rule because there was nobody else to do it. So, yeah, they pretty much ended up going with a week on, week off rule. But again, because there's so few of us that do what I do, it's, they kind of turn a blind eye. There was the whole thing where, well, if you're going to be in, then you have to make sure that you log the time that you're in and this and that. You got team red and team blue. And it was like, sometimes the best laid plans of mice and men come to naught because that just didn't work in our office. So, and now it's going to be even worse or better, depending on how you look at it, because the other guy that kind of did the same thing that I did is now moving to your neck of the woods up there in Pennsylvania. So he's no longer local. And that kind of just leaves me. So on the plus side, my employment is pretty much guaranteed. On the minus side, it's like I'm going into the office almost every single day. Working from home has been interesting. It's been really, really different because and please, nobody faint from shock, but I find myself easily distracted from the kinds of things that I'm supposed to be doing all the time. It's almost like squirrel, and I'm looking over there. It's like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be doing this instead. So
I resemble that remark.
Yeah, well, being in an office environment, and it's part of the reason why I think I probably go in as often as I do, not counting the fact that there's really not that many people that do what I do. It allows me, being in the office allows me to be more focused on what it is that I need to do. So I kind of, on work-related stuff, I kind of prefer to be in the office, but I can mostly work from home. The few things that I can't do, I could kind of go, a day and a half without being in, but eventually I'd have to go back in anyway.
Hey, Guy, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So when you work from home, do you have a dedicated workspace, or do you have an area that you use for work, but it serves other purposes as well?
It's all in one, baby. Everything that I do, whether it's personal or work or everything else, it's all right here.
Okay. I was curious because what you see around me, this is my dedicated workspace.
Yeah.
And when I'm done working or I need a break, I walk out the door and I'm in another room, but I'm also not in my workspace.
You know, I try to do something like that because I have a MacBook Air, and I set that one up to also be able to work from home. And I had that in a whole different room. But I kept finding myself still being distracted just by, either the cats would come in and they must be obeyed. So what are you going to do? So I pretty much, I allow myself, or I find myself being distracted when I'm here at the house. And it's always like, you look around, you're like, there's other stuff I could be doing. And then, then you kind of just fall into that trap. So if I'm at work, I'm at work, and those distractions don't exist.
Guy, I have a question. Maybe some viewers might have it also, which is, I don't know.
No, I won't tell you what it is I do.
Huh?
No, I won't tell you what it is I do.
You won't?
I will not.
Okay.
Is that what you were going to ask me?
Yes.
Oh, I was just kidding. But I work in, and this might sound funny as well. I work in security.
I think you told me a little about it when we met at MacStock, but I don't remember the details.
Well, just as well. So
yeah, if Guy tells you any more, then he has to kill you.
It would really, really break up the group dynamic. So, I'm just not going to do that.
So I heard three things in there that I would like to get to at some point somehow. The first one was the loss of socialization.
Yeah.
The Zoom meeting was really interesting part. And when I say Zoom, that could be Skype, that could be Teams, that could be, whatever. We just use Zoom as kind of the default way to refer to it. And then Guy's comment about distractions. Because I've heard, I live alone. I have no animals. So I felt like I had no distractions of any significant kind. So I haven't had any focus. But I've heard the people that have animals, the people that have kids, the people that have spouses that maybe they didn't realize they were really, really married to. And all of a sudden now they have to live with them. Yeah. That has been a bit of a problem. And so, I don't even know how to respond to that, because that I have trouble identifying with personally. But I mean, have any of you felt like you fought distraction during this time?
It's really funny because, you see this desk behind me over here. Like, that's not my desk. That's my wife's desk. We are usually about 6 feet from each other, not because we're social distancing, just because that's how big the room is. And, it is hard sometimes when her job primarily is to answer the phones and have conversations with her clients and her customers. So for me, it's like I might be in a Zoom meeting, or given the nature of my job, I may be presenting, and all of a sudden you hear a phone ring, and it's like you're giving a talk, you're in the groove, and then all of a sudden you hear Mrs. Miller speaking, and it's like, oh, where was I? What was happening? And it's very real, to the point now where right before we got here, I just bought a second mic to go onto a camera, and then set up a riser in the bedroom so that I can call that the remote office, and have a space where the phone's not going to ring and I'm not going to be interrupted, so that I can present and focus. So yeah, I mean, it is very much a distraction, albeit from good people and good things, but a distraction nonetheless.
Anybody else have thoughts on distractions?
There's somebody that some of you know. I won't name him here, but he has a child that's autistic who can't go to school for the last year. So they, have a huge issue with that. I can't imagine how he's managing to keep his business going. I guess he is somehow, but Yes, I think for some people that's a huge issue.
Oh, just kids. I mean, and other issues aside, just having young children in the house when you're trying to work would be a terrible distraction, because there are times when children don't typically understand that sometimes mommy or daddy have to do this or that, and they don't always have the time to be able to just focus completely on the child. And it's not the child's fault. It's not the parents' fault, but that's just the way sometimes things work.
You mentioned earlier the anti-distraction apps and kind of getting into the zone with like Coffitivity and things like that. My Coffitivity is listening to Coco Melon and Super JoJo and Disney movies in the background constantly. Just 100% of the time there's some kind of music playing behind me. And it's gotten to the point where even when I don't hear it like right now, I'll still start humming the words to the music. And I'm like, what's happening to me?
Jay, it's funny you say that, because now that is something I will admit that I find, short obviously of Zoom calls or phone calls, that I prefer to work with some kind of noise, but mine will be just some kind of music.
Mine's internal in my head.
Yep. Well, that hasn't changed. That was pre-pandemic, Guy.
Yeah.
So
no, we hear it, Guy.
Right. We all hear it,
Guy. Yeah.
Wink.
This is becoming a regular thing. What was intended as a partial topic for one MacVoices Live show took a whole lot longer to cover and took some unexpected turns, and the panel had a lot of thoughts. So this is going to be a multi-part MacVoices Live show. Next time around, we continue with some of the personal experiences and then spread out into Zoom culture and exactly what it has meant for our work-from-home environments that we've all been living in and where it may go in the future. That's next time on MacVoices. I think you will definitely enjoy it, and I hope you will join us. Until then, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.